Hello, welcome back to a new video. In today's video, I wanted to go over the past series that have already gone limited and go over some items from those series that could also go limited. As we have seen, the last two items that have went limited have been from series that I've already seen one go limited from that series. So I wanted to go over those series as I didn't go over them in my first prediction video since I wanted to go over something they hadn't made limited yet, but in today's video, I'll be going over the series that they have already made items limited from and maybe see some other options from that series that could also go limited. So yes, started. So over here for the first series, they did start off with Sinister S when they first started making these limiteds. So I wanted to go over these pumpkin heads as well as there might be other choices that they might choose from, and I really think they could choose any of them. I think they might go in kind of age order since they start with the Sinister P, then Sinister S, so the next oldest one they could choose, and there is also this Sinister F one which is still available, so if you do want to get this one just to be safe, I would probably get it if you have a lot of spare Robux. And there's also the Sinister Squared one, which also I think could count as the Sinister series, so that one would also kind of count as this. And if I'm not mistaken, this next oldest one would be Sinister T, so I would assume that the Sinister T would go limited next, but I think that any of them do have a good chance. Another series that they have made two limited from so far, Tentacles Jr. and Miss Tentacles, they're both doing around the same, but they just made Miss Tentacles limited, so if they do want to make another one limited from this series, I would assume it'd probably take at least a month for them to get to this series again. But if they were to choose one, I would assume they would probably choose the Rainbow Tentacles. I think that's the next off sale one in terms of age once again. But there are also these two on sale ones, and they have chosen on sale items before, so who knows, they could choose these two. So once again, like the Sinister F, if you have a lot of spare bucks, because these two are very expensive, then I would go ahead and buy them, but I think more likely are one of these off sale ones right over here. And I do want to also point out this distant cousin jellyfish is also in that series, so that also is a possibility. So just wanted to let you know because most people actually forget this one. So it is a part of that series, and that also does have a possibility right over here. Next up, we have the DIY series, and once again, similar to Tentacles, they just made one of these limited, so I don't see them making another one limited soon. But they did have this Clockwork and Rainbow Shaggy Eagle limited, which were both off sale, so I would assume they would do another off sale one. And we do have a lot of choices. Some of these are toy codes, like Wenwood is a toy code. That one can't go limited, but we do have some other kind of Halloween ones, which are kind of random, but who knows, they might go for Halloween one. But I think more likely are Doge, Deadly Dark Dominus, Arctic Commando, and Blue Steel Bathysphere. So I think these four are the more likely ones. They could go for one of these Halloween ones, or maybe even the event item DIY egg right over there. I think these on sale ones are probably not as likely, but they could go for one of the ones that do have a limited in them, like Volk, Azareth, or Bat Helm. I think those are possible choices as well. Next up, they did also make this Parachute Crown limited chartreuse. So there is another one red, so I think the Crimson one does have a good chance, but there are also two other Parachute items, Deluxe Parachute Crown and the Parachute Sword Pack, which do have good chances too, but I think they'll probably make the Crimson one limited first. Next up, this is probably not as likely as the other choices. We do have the Maker items once again, but this was the first time they actually made any of these limited, so if they do want to continue, they do have quite a lot of top hat choices, but I do see this as kind of unlikely in comparison to a lot of other choices. If they do want to go on the trend of kind of in real life fair events, I think that they could go with BloxCon. They have a couple BloxCon limiteds already, so they might add on to that if they do want to, and there's also a top hat looks just like Maker ones as well, so they could go with that. So we do have the BloxCon ones and the Maker Fair items that they could make limited. Next up, they did make the Tex Volk limited, so I didn't want to go over the other Valkyries as well. Summer Volk, which could go limited, it is on sale, so you might not be looking at it too much, but it is summer right now, so I might go for it just because of that. And they do have Valiant Valkyrie, which is a very, very popular item, but I'm not sure if they're going to make this one limited because it does make them a lot of money being it on sale, so keep that in mind that it might not go limited because of that, but it's still up there as a choice. Next up, they did make the Happy Time Flower Bowler limited, and we do have this bow tie, which is still on sale, so if you do want to get it just in case, still a nice choice. We do have the Shamrock one, which I think is a nice choice, but I see it as a more likely option around St. Patrick's Day. They also have this Spring Flower hat, which spring is almost over, so maybe next year, but like the Sinisters, they could just make it limited even if it isn't that season, so this could be a choice. And the last one, which I think is probably the most likely, the Sparkle Time Happy Time Magic Flower hat right over here. It is the Happy Time theme and it's Sparkle Time, so that's two very limited qualities to go with it, so I think this is the most likely out of the series. Next up, we do have the Sparkle Time Banana series. They made the blue one limited, and there's the red and green one still, so if you do want to get either of these, they're both pretty expensive right now. They won't do as well as the blue one because they have a lot more sales, so keep that in mind if you buy these. You might not get hundreds of thousands out of it, but you can still definitely make some Robux if they do go limited. Next up, we do have the Beast Mode Banana series, and did see the Blizzard one go limited, so there are the first one right over here, the red one still, and the radioactive one as options, so if you do own any of these do have the chance of going limited now. Next up, they did make the Vlad Immortal Sword limited. There are still two more choices. If they do want to make either of these limited, there's the Immortal Sword Burning Embrace, and there is also the Gingerbread Immortal Sword, so if you own any of these, they do have the chance of going limited to join the Vlad Immortal Sword. I think the Burning one is probably more likely right now. I could see this one going limited maybe around the festive season. Next up, they did make the Silverthorn Antlers limited, so you could really choose any of these. There's so many different choices. There are the two on sale ones with leaves, and there are so many off sale choices. They could do the same thing as the other limiteds by going with the earliest, and I think the next earliest is probably going to be maybe one of the gift ones like Candy Cane, but I think that is also one that I would see going limited around the festive season, so maybe something that's that they just released a lot in seals, like Blue Steel Bombastic, the 8-bit ones, Amethyst, or Black Iron. So they do have a lot of choices. There are so many different antlers, so they could really go with any of them. So if you own any of them, those definitely are possibilities. And if you just want to be safe, I would probably buy these two on sale ones with leaves as well. Next up, we do have the big head items. There are quite a lot of them. All of them are off sale except the Silverthorn ones, which are just limited. We do have the Moose Party, Arrow Hats, Narwhal. We have the Sword Pack right over here. We have Rainbow Shades, Shaggy, Beard, Santa Hats, and Purple Top Hat. I think the Top Hat is the likeliest out of them. There are also the Hairs, the Galaxy Girl, and the Beautiful Hair, but I don't see those going limited right now as they have not made any hair limited yet. So I would probably assume one of the hats. So I would assume Purple Banded is most likely, and maybe Arrow and the Sword Pack are also two good chances. But if you own these, then they do have a chance of going limited. Next up, they did make Big Head limited, so might as well make the other one limited, Bigger Head, whatever here. So if you wanted the Bigger Head, it might have a chance now with the Big Head going limited. So definitely keep an eye on it. Next up, they did make Sword Packs limited, two of them, Springtime and Bombastic. So they could go with another Sword Pack if they wanted to. There are many different choices. Both of the ones I chose were off sale, so I would assume that you choose another off sale one. There's Icicles, Crimson, Magic Rainbow, there's Blessed Rapiers, which is pretty rare, and there are many other choices. So if you own a Sword Pack that's off sale, I think that has a good chance with the other items. Next up, they did make the Builders Club helmets for OBC limited, so they could make the other ones limited if they really wanted to. This one probably not do that well because it has a lot of owners. Turbo actually doesn't have that many owners, so it might do well, or at least around the same as the other OBC helmet that went limited. And there are also other OBC items that they could choose. I don't think that the gears are as likely, so Midas Glove, unfortunately, probably not as likely. I think Roblox is trying to stay away from gears. We do have the Eyes of the Everworld, which there is a limited variant of. There's a silver one of this, so they could choose this one. They have this, which is also another one that has a limited variant, so they could choose one of this, and it's a pretty nice looking little hat. And this one, which also has a limited variant. So all these do actually have limited variants, so they could go ahead and make one of these OBC items limited. There are also some basic items. There was the bubblegum, there was the egg basket, so there are also some of those, but those are gears, and once again, I don't think that the gears have a high chance. Next up, they do have the Sleepy series, which they have released during a lot of the midnight sales. They did make one of the sloths limited, and there are also some of the other sloths. There are also some other sleepy animals like the raccoon, there's the owls, there's the koala, so there are also other choices here. They do also have this Tired Tortoise series as well, so you could choose one of these. They really have an equal chance, any of them, to go limited. Next up, they did make that 8-bit Rainbow Bowler, and I assumed that was for the 8-bit series, so I would assume one of these would go limited. That was an on-sale one, so they could really choose any of these. There's so many on-sale variants of different hats, so I don't know, I probably wouldn't spend my money on every single thing here, but if you own one of these 8-bit ones, they probably have a good chance as well. Next, they did make that Tickets tie limited, so they have a lot of Tix items to choose from. There's the Dominus, there's the Domino Crown, the Federation, there's so many different choices, so definitely if you own one of those expensive ones, they have a pretty good chance, along with the rest of these right over here, and also these right over here as well. And the last one that I went to go over was MidSummer, and this is also kind of a pretty vague thing. They released a lot of MidSummer items during the midnight sale. They did make two of the on-sale ones limited right over here, and almost all of them are actually on sale. The rest of the ones that have MidSummer in the name, the only one that's off sale is this owl right over here, so they could choose anything here. Unlike the 8-bit, there's not like 1,000 items that are still on sale, so if you really do want to get these, they actually probably don't add up to that much, so you can still go ahead and buy these. So yeah, that was me going over these past series and some other ideas on what else could go limited from these series. I will definitely be making another part on other items that haven't gone limited yet from a series. I do also have the possibility to do that. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and yeah, I will see you guys next time.